Okay, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I see some familiar names in the attendee list, so welcome back. And I'm glad that we have a great crowd for this because I'm delighted to have Adam Harris from Twitch here. So I'm Candace Kuss, and I am the co-chair of the PRCA Digital Group. And as you probably know, we're doing a series of these webinars called the Social Hour, where we have some of the big platforms come and share what's the latest and the greatest and talk about different ways that brands are having success. So Adam has kindly become our star speaker for this week, and he's going to run through some best practices. And then I think we're going to have quite a lot of time for questions. So I hope that you'll all join in. What we can do is you can put the questions in the chat and I will help relay them to Adam at the end. So again, thank you so much for being here. And Adam, over to you.
Thanks, Candace, and good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here and listening in. So I'm just going to take you through a very quick presentation, which will provide a bit of an overview on what Twitch is, and then a little bit more detail on how we're working with brands and some best practice tips, hints and tips. So let's just get going. Let's check this is working. There we go. So first question is, what is Twitch? For those that aren't aware of Twitch, it is the world's leading social live video service. And what we mean by that is the live video is, well, we're all very used to live video now. We're all very used to kind of the streaming and kind of being on these kind of calls. But it's the social thing that really makes Twitch unique. It's the ability to interact and become part of the video and the live experience digitally while content is going on. So people come onto Twitch, as you can see from this image here. The video player is the kind of the main kind of piece of property on the page, but the chat bar is equally as important, and that's the means through the video player and through the chat bar to interact with the broadcaster. So it's very much, we position it as TV, how Gen Z want to use it, in that they're not just there to watch a show, they want to be there to become part of the show. And we called ourselves a creator first platform. We're very much focused on providing the tools, providing a service that allows creators, whether they be gaming creators, so people playing video games and other people watching them, which is where Twitch started, or artists, music artists, comedians. We're seeing a huge growth in these other areas, which I'll talk through, to basically make a living doing the thing that they love. And we've got lots of monetization tools and lots of different ways that a creator can make a living and produce content and make a living producing content in this digital environment. So that's an incredibly important part for us, as is the idea of community, because what these creators are community leaders, and they develop communities and they build communities around their passions and their passion points. So they will start to, the more that they build their community, the more monetization options become available to them. So it really is a kind of a community-based platform. As I said, it started with gaming, but we have seen a huge amount of growth. We're now seeing politicians, which Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez has been on, the Jacinda Ardern's been on. We had the Brexit debate. So really, it's becoming an engagement platform from Gen Z more than a gamer platform, which it was notoriously kind of known for. And we've seen a significant, as you'd probably expect, growth during COVID. And there's lots of reasons for this. So we've seen it both on the viewership side and on the creator side as well. So from a viewership side, we've increased pretty much, in 2019, we did 10 billion hours watched per month, and that went up to 18 billion hours watched per month. So that's a lot of content, a lot of watching. And that was last year, so 18 billion. 2 million people are tuning in to live content every second, and we have roughly 26.5 million daily active users. So and last year we saw the largest ever individual stream, where 2.4 million people tuned into a Spanish streamer called Gref G, as he revealed a Fortnite skin. Yeah, 2.4 million people watched that, which is quite unbelievable. So the viewership is up, and also the broadcasters, the number of broadcasters entering the platform, realizing the potential ability to earn on the platform has increased during COVID as well. So we're now up to 6 million unique broadcasters a month. We had our most ever amount of broadcasters in 2020, as you'd expect during COVID, where 13 million are now signed up to be on the platform. Those being able to make money has doubled, and the amount of money they've made is also doubled in that time. So people are making a really good living, especially music and sports have been a really core driver of this, with viewership up by 6 times in both categories. The reason we're seeing, we believe, kind of the viewership increasing is that, as I said, Twitch is a community platform, and it is a way of people coming together simultaneously and experiencing something at the same time. And it's these unique, live, never to be repeated experiences that are drawing people in, especially during COVID, where I don't want to depress anyone, but because we haven't been able to go to pubs or cinemas or gigs or to sports events, they have started to migrate and find digital alternatives to these live social community activities. And so that they're looking for connection, they're looking for togetherness, and also looking for entertainment. It's the kind of 3 elements we have seen from research that viewers, how our new viewers and increasing numbers are kind of getting from Twitch. And from the broadcaster's point of view, especially musicians, they're, with the gig economy kind of not in a brilliant place, unfortunately, due to COVID, they found their ability to monetize their art quite difficult. But actually on Twitch, because of our monetization capabilities, they've been able to continue to earn a living in a different way, utilizing those tools. So we've seen a lot of musicians, of all kinds of different musicians, from well-known to independents, finding success on Twitch in new, different, wonderful, and predominantly interactive ways, which is great. The other big kind of trend that we've seen in the last year has been actually around charity. And Twitch has always been, its model is based on subscriptions and voluntarily donating to streamers whose content you like. So the behavior is native on the platform anyway, to kind of donate and to give. And we've seen, I think, about a 70% increase in donations and charity money raised in 2020. I think the total was $83 million raised by streamers. This is streamers, not Twitch initiatives alone last year. They're a very cause-driven audience and very creative as well in the way that they earn money for charities and drive that kind of cause-based initiatives for charities. So one great example is a French streamer called Zerator, who every year does this esport event called Z Event, and he raises something like, I think he raised 3.5 million for charity, and he got retweeted by President Macron, and it's just, yeah, it's so there's a lot of kind of cross population across multiple cultural points that are going on at the moment. But with all this audience and with these broadcasters, there's also been increased interest from brands. There was keen interest before COVID, I should say. What COVID has really done is accelerated the interest in both viewership, broadcasters, and the brands that we're working with. So brands have increasingly been utilizing Twitch to reach a Gen Z audience. Gen Z audience being notoriously hard to reach elsewhere because they are kind of frequently paying for subscription services to avoid commercial messaging. They are employing ad blockers. Yeah, on Twitch, you've got a kind of a pull mechanic, you've got voluntary engagement. So it's a really good environment for brands to reach this very hard to reach audience. And brands are beginning to kind of see the value of these never to be repeated experiences, especially from a social aspect. It's no different to going to a gig, taking a picture, putting it on Instagram. It's kind of, if you're, it's fear of missing out. If you're not there, you miss it. And we've seen that with the likes of kind of various things that have happened with Fortnite, with Travis Scott, kind of launching his album there. So there's a lot of kind of pros for brands to get involved in this space. And brands also see the value in supporting this creator ecosystem that we have, this creator first ecosystem where the brands are a fundamental part in allowing these creators to earn a living doing the thing that they love. Yes, the viewers subscribe and they donate their money, but the brands, through kind of investing in Twitch and revenue share from advertising and direct partnership behavior, allow these creators to do the thing that they love for a living. And we think that's a really kind of valuable and kind of a virtuous thing, actually, when it comes to brands. So what we've seen in the last year is not just an increase in brands, but it's the increase in the different types of brands that we've seen activate and engage our streamers and engage our audience on Twitch. We've had everything from cars, Porsche, Hummer, Cadillac, VW, to toothpaste with Corsadil and a Invisalign, to biscuits, to toilet roll with Charmin, which we'll see kind of shortly in some case studies. So it really has been kind of an increase, not just in the volume of brands, but the type of brands. And what my team does, so I should have introduced myself properly at the start, actually, which is I head up the Global Brand Partnership Studio. So it's my job and my team's job to help brands navigate this space. And there's 4 elements that we find that brands notoriously need help with, because it's a bit uncertain. It's a new technology, it's a new platform, and then it's not entirely clear. So the first thing is understanding Twitch and the language and the way that it works and the kind of how the creators operate. The next is helping brands navigate the world of gaming. Gaming is now mainstream. It's worth more than music and movies combined. It's a phenomenal marketing channel for brands. We, since 2011, have been operating in this space with brands. We've got probably more knowledge of working on branded gaming campaigns than anyone else. So we really want to help brands navigate that space. Streaming and live content is unknown. It has got obviously dangers in brands' eyes, and we have set up mechanics and operational models that help negate those, and we guide them through the best practices when it comes to streaming. And Gen Z engagement, as I mentioned, very hard to reach audience, lots of them on Twitch. So we are provide kind of guidance on how best to engage those audiences. So what I want to do now is just take you through 5 kind of best practice tips, really, with an associated case study that illustrate the point of how kind of the direction that we point brands in and how we guide them through utilizing Twitch as a really effective means to reach this young generation. So very quickly, just in terms of my team, our whole function, our whole structure is based on helping brands and empowering the brands to create on Twitch. As I said, we see brands as a fundamental part of the success of creators on the platform. We want brands, we need brands to engage on the platform and to be operating kind of effectively in that space and supporting our creators. So my team's job is to essentially help and guide them along the way. So the first piece of advice we give to brands is all about establishing a right to play, because there's often this myth that actually Twitch and gaming and this whole kind of cultural element is it can be a bit scary, but what we try to convince them is all those brands I've listed like prove it is inclusive. You've got everyone from Porsche to Kellogg's to Charmin to Burberry, all doing weird, wonderful, amazing things in this space. So it's not scary. It is very mainstream. Gaming is very mainstream, but while all brands have the right to play, not all brands are created equal. So a Charmin, for example, with no experience of operating on Twitch or in gaming or in this kind of this Gen Z culture, will have a different right to play and ability to play in this space than, say, a KFC, who have got long heritage in operating in that space, and also have got more of a right to play because it's a while gamers use toilet paper, I hope, it's not a core part of their experience, whereas fast food is a bit more of a core part of the gaming culture or that Gen Z culture. So it's easier for them to operate in that space. So what we say to brands is establish your right to play, figure out your route in. Gaming is huge. Twitch is huge. There's lots of content. You can't do everything. So just find where your brand sits effectively. And Charmin's a really good case study of that, because they're not a brand that had done anything at all on Twitch ever before. And it's a toilet roll. And it's very hard to connect a toilet roll to a live streaming platform. So we had to really kind of work carefully and strategically with them on the best way in, because you can't just have like a streamer unboxing toilet rolls. Like that just won't resonate with the audience. They'll say that's sellout. So you have to find kind of the meaningful connection to that audience and establish and figure out what is the correct way in. And the way we did this was, firstly, having a look at the product. The product is notorious with toilet humor. Gen Z love toilet humor, so that was quite an easy way in terms of the tone. Equally, they're very competitive and they want to be part of a community and they like being quite tribal. So what we did was establish this version of Duck Hunt for those who are old enough to remember that game. But instead of shooting ducks with bullets, as was in the original game, the viewer was able to shoot flying turds with toilet paper. So very highbrow, as you can see. But the point is, we made this highly competitive. So we pitched big streamers against big streamers and their community against community. So rather than this just being a kind of a game that they played in their own time or on a mobile device and no one else kind of played with them, they were in a competitive competition, because gamers love competition and this audience love competition, to compete for digital rewards. So rewards that were meaningful to them. So it was Twitch bits, Twitch subs, and other kind of digital goods and in-game prizes. And all of a sudden, this, with these playful bears, created a right to play for Charmin in this space. It was accepted by the community because it had everything they wanted. It was competitive, it was gaming, it had toilet humor, it was just fun to do. And it meant that they were able to support their favorite streamer by, they were on the team of their streamer competing against other communities of other streamers. So this is just a really good example of a brand that really kind of worked with us to establish the correct way in, a really kind of solid way in. And I think they had 500,000 people play this game over a week period. And I think 4 different streamers, big streamers, kind of had this on their channel. So this sat in the video player on the channel, didn't interrupt the content. They were able to still watch the content, interact with the content while they played the game. So this is a really good example of establishing a right to play. The next element is all about being authentic to the culture, which is kind of a golden rule when marketing to Gen Z anyway, but it's even more so when you're operating in a live environment, in a dynamic environment, interactive environment, that you want to speak to Gen Z in a really authentic and natural way that resonates with them, that doesn't try and be something you're not. So the first piece of advice is, don't dad dance. Don't try and speak to the community like you were one of them, unless you were genuinely one of them. All you need to do is show that you get them, show you understand their values, show you understand what it is that is valuable to them. And the second thing we say is embrace the sellout, which by that we mean don't hide, don't try and disguise the fact you're a brand on Twitch supporting streamers. The community understands the economics of Twitch. They understand that brands are a crucial part to allowing the streamers that they follow to make a living doing the thing that they love. So don't hide it, embrace it. Say, yeah, this is commercial. This is a commercial enterprise. This is a commercial exercise that we're doing, but we're going to make it so natural and native to kind of the experience of Twitch that you're going to love it regardless of it being brought to you by a brand. So it's a really key point. Another thing is to show self-awareness and realize that Twitch, Gen Z, ultimate meme culture, you can't take yourself too seriously. So be ready as a brand to poke fun at yourself and to really kind of just roll with the punches in this kind of platform, because if you do that, the gains to be gained from kind of being authentic and true to yourself are huge. So the example here is for a biscuit. So a biscuit called Prince Roll, which is a German biscuit. It's delicious. I did sound genuine there. I do really like it. And they were looking for a route into gaming. And they, again, like Charmin before them, had no natural kind of inclination to gaming. But we managed to find a streamer who is as big a fan of the biscuit as I clearly wasn't showing that I was. And we worked with them to produce a custom commercial based and an ad spot based on this streamer's life, because he's a fan of that biscuit, and he wanted to tell his life story of this rags to riches, that he stayed true to himself, even though he's had success from Twitch, even though he's earning a 6-figure sum, that actually it's things like this biscuit that ground him and remind him of where he comes from. Because he was telling his story and being true to himself, the audience absolutely loved this, and it made his name's Pete Smeet, and it made him a real star on Twitch. And the audience also loved that the biscuit brand. We borrowed bits of Twitch culture, as you can see, kind of in this animated spot with his kind of chain around his neck, and Twitch bits in the bath, and they just thought that was a brand that really, it wasn't trying to be like them, but really understood what they love about Twitch and what they love about this streamer and what they love about the stories of like a Twitch streamer who essentially it's very democratized. Anyone can stream, anyone can earn a living doing the thing that they love, and they really embraced and enjoyed that Prince Roll had gone down this route. So that's being authentic to the culture. Next one is all about supporting the creators and the communities. Now, there's again a common misconception around Twitch and gaming and Gen Z that brands aren't welcome. Again, to kind of really drill down on this point, the audience understand the economics of Twitch and of the requirement to have brands in this space. Not only do they understand it actually, but especially when it comes to gamers, it's a long ignored community by brands. And now with the increased interest with the likes of Axe Unilever supporting League of Legends, and I think the handbag brand, Louis Vuitton also supports League of Legends. To gamers who've been into League of Legends for like almost 20 years, this is great. This is unbelievable. This is validation that a brand such as Louis Vuitton, such as kind of Unilever or Axe or League, where it's called different markets, want to be in this space, and they're not just going in as a tagging exercise, that they're adding true value. And that's what we mean by supporting creators in the communities. You need to demonstrate kind of your support to the creators and show that you're kind of providing them with both the financial and also the creative support. But actually, the creators also wouldn't be anything without their communities. So you have to show love to the community too. You can't just focus on the creators, as tempting as it will be, the influencers. You actually, they would be nothing without the communities, and they acknowledge that. And so if you're going to enter this space, you have to support the creators, but you also have to support the communities, have to provide something of value. So the example we've got here is of Miller Lite, who did a really good job of carving out a white space in gaming, something that had never been taken by another brand. And what they found was actually, and not just gaming, sorry, on Twitch, the moderators are the unsung heroes of Twitch. The moderators are, for those who don't know, are people either who are volunteers or, in the case of big streamers, are paid to police their channel, to make sure that the channels are welcome communities, that everyone there has a time which is without harassment and all the kind of negative things that can happen on the internet. It's a self-policing mechanic, and they often work for free doing this for the up and coming streamers, because they'll like their channel and they'll just say, I want to be a part of this. And Miller realized this, and they want to say cheers to these unsung heroes of Twitch. So they weren't just supporting the streamers here, they were actually supporting the people that keep the channel going, the people that make sure that anyone who's trolling gets booted out, kind of at the first sign of trolling, the people that make sure that the content flows, that respond to questions in chat. So this is a really good example of a brand who, as well as supporting the creators, because by supporting the moderators, they are inherently supporting the creators by giving value to the people that work for them, but they're showing their support to the wider community as well. It's a really important point. 2 more to go, I'm almost there. So the fourth piece of advice is all about inviting and not interrupting. And this is one of the core differences between Twitch and other kind of other video platforms, other social platforms, is that Twitch it's all based on voluntary engagement. This audience, it's pull content, it's not push content. So if you're a brand in this space, you should behave in that way too. You should be pulling the audience into your content rather than pushing content at them. Now, this isn't always that natural to brands, and it's quite hard to kind of, especially where you're coming from platforms and other services where it's far more polished and edited, to a live, authentic, unscripted live platform. But this is the key to success on the platform, is to allow the audience in. As I said at the start, the audience wants to be part of the show. This is TV in the way that they want to watch it, and the way they want to watch it is to be part of it. So it's a really key part, is all about this, inviting them in, don't interrupt them. There's lots of ways that we can control the environment so it remains brand safe. We retroscript narratives, we have moderators, we've got machine learning, but ultimately we advise brands to let the audience take control of the handlebars for a bit. Let them roll around in your content, let them be part of it. And this Porsche campaign, as some of you may have seen, it won quite a few awards last year, was we basically for the first time ever, launched a car, but let the audience launch the car. So we constructed this narrative, we constructed this live stream, which the premise of it was that the audience had to control two drivers to break into a Porsche facility and unveil the car. And they had to fulfill a whole load of challenges and puzzles and work together. And it took them 4 hours to do so. So for 4 hours, the launch of the car was completely in the hands of the audience. And only when they solved all the puzzles, and there was lots of in jokes and in the kind of nods to famous games like Hitman and Resident Evil and Metal Gear Solid. So we really kind of triggered their interest there. But it was only after 4 hours, once they solved all those puzzles, that the car was released globally to the world. That is an example of a brand taking kind of invite, don't interrupt to a whole new level and really kind of putting the control into the hands of the audience. And I love that example. And we recently had another car do the same with Lexus, who actually let the audience of a streamer design a gaming car, and then they went and built it. So you can see increasingly that brands are taking on this advice and seeing that is a real benefit of Twitch. And my final thing that I want, kind of piece of advice that I want to share, is all about forgetting the stereotypes. Typically, firstly, the stereotypes around gamers, typically seen as kind of these antisocial people in basements. And I think the range of content and on Twitch and the range of interests that gamers have, and the amount of cross-pollination between cultural elements, such as I mentioned, Travis Scott launching in Fortnite, and all these kind of things prove that actually we're not talking to gamers. What we're talking to are what we term as the gaming generation. It's a generation of digital natives. It's not gamers. Gamers were the early adopters of Twitch because it was interactive content, interactive TV watching experience. But what people have realized especially over COVID, is actually that they're used to interacting with all their devices and all their content, and they want to be a part of the show. And therefore, that's why we're seeing the likes of chess was our biggest sport this year, thanks to Queen's Gambit. And people were just watching live chess and interacting, and there was streams where you could play against grandmasters. Drag is a huge community on Twitch now. Lando Norris is an F1 driver. We've got loads of F1 drivers who are just broadcasting on Twitch. AOC streams on Twitch, and as I said, we had a whole host of other kind of political debates because it's interactive. And for a generation who are cause-driven, who are creative, who want to have a say, a platform that gives them a say in live real time is very attractive to them and to these kind of young up-and-coming politicians who kind of realize the potential of that and the potential to engage with this audience in real time in unique ways. Football clubs, they're finding a home on Twitch. We've got Barcelona, Real Madrid, Arsenal, Marseille, all sharing content which is stuff that you can't get in the mainstream, but they know that because football clubs are essentially large communities, very tribal, very much like people who love League of Legends or who love Fortnite, that they are providing reserve team content or training. They're showing their training camps and things to provide their communities with another means to engage with the thing that they are passionate about. So, and then Steve Aoki, this is just a great brand example where for Dell, he, utilizing Dell equipment, created with his community a brand new piece of sonic branding for Dell on a piece of Dell machinery that now Dell uses their anthem. So that's kind of just an extreme of where music is going. But we've had everyone from John Legend to the Bee Gees on Twitch this year. And so I think we can safely say we should be forgetting the stereotypes. And that's enough of me talking at you for about half an hour. I would welcome any questions. Candace.
Thanks so much, Adam. That was fantastic. I am hopeful we'll get some questions from the audience, but I do have a few to start us off. And I think you touched on much of this as well. But as an American, obviously, I'm very into AOC, and I love that she was on Twitch or is on Twitch. And I'm wondering, not just for politicians, but other, what we would call key opinion leaders, or what's your opinion on the platform as a place for reputation building of, if they're right for the audience, but of CEOs or other figures in the company that you're working with in your client's company? Do you see similar places where they might also go on there to talk to that
Yeah,
audience?
100%. We're seeing like increasingly like the most successful content is content you just wouldn't expect. There's now a French journalist, I can't remember his name, who's basically reads the morning newspapers and the business news on Twitch, and it is one of the most popular channels in France now. So it's, if you don't try it, you won't know. Like people have watched puddles on Twitch, so it's a complete extreme, or maybe not to other CEOs, who knows? But it's all about testing and engagement. And if you're going to go on, you just don't want to talk at the audience. You do want that, you want to be receiving something back. So he reads the newspapers and he gets opinions and sees what people thinks about it. So it is definitely a reputation builder. What we should point out, that Twitch is not a free speech platform. That's really important. We clamp down very hard on kind of any we've got terms of service, and anyone who doesn't adhere to those terms of service, we do have very strict policies, because we want it to be a community. We all know what the internet's like. We've all, like, and it can be a horrible place at times. And what we want it to be is Twitch to be a welcoming place. It is very much about community building. So anyone who is going to go onto the platform, whether it be CEO, journalist, whoever, it's be aware of the terms of service, and to build a active and engaged community who you participate with. Don't just push content at them, because you will never build a community that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it is true that female gamers get a tougher reception sometimes, if I can say that. And I'm interested in maybe some of the stats around split between male, female participants, people who are actively streaming a lot, and what is the company itself doing? I know a lot of these women are quite fierce, and they're quite able to defend themselves, but be interested in your perspective on that.
Yeah, there's no doubt there's a problem in gaming, there's a problem in society, and it's something that we are taking very seriously as part of this endeavor, to make Twitch a safe community place. And so the first element is the female broadcastership. That's a term, but I'm going to use it today. Is growing incredibly fast. And actually, I don't know exact figures, so I'm not going to even quote. But at the time when I joined Twitch, it was really low. It was probably about 20%. And I joined Twitch 5 years ago. The latest figures I saw was something like 60-40. So that's not perfect, but we're heading in the right direction. And it's not just gaming streams. We're seeing across a broad spectrum of content. Some of our biggest chess streamers are female chess streamers, and that they're doing amazing work. I think Pokimane is the second biggest streamer, third biggest streamer in the world, as she's a female streamer and a really strong advocate for women in gaming. So there's no doubt, and we've all seen kind of what's gone on with various sexual harassment things in gaming and in society in general. We're trying to take a lead. We're not always doing it perfectly. We've employed a brand new global VP of Trust and Safety. We've, I think, doubled the size of our safety operations team in the last year. We've established a safety advisory panel, which includes streamers, which includes viewers, and we've updated kind of our terms and conditions around hateful conduct and harassment. So we're trying. We're nowhere near perfect, but it is high on our agenda, because we do want it to be a really safe and welcoming place for people, not only to consume content, but to produce content and just enjoy being part of a community.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now, I think you've been there, as you say, a long time, and I'm believing that you predate Amazon buying Twitch.
No, just afterwards.
Okay.
Yes.
Have you? So I'm interested in, has stuff changed? How different is it? If there's any winners in COVID, not just Twitch, but oh my God, Amazon, like just through the roof, for so many obvious reasons. But how is it being part of their family?
It's great from numerous points of view. Firstly, they leave the kind of content side of things to Twitch and the experts. They understand we are a very unique cultural proposition, very different to e-commerce, and obviously they have got comparable elements such as Amazon Prime, Prime Video, things like that. But they've been brilliant at letting Twitch develop into the type of community-based platform that we want to kind of develop into. Saying that, there's a lot of benefits and stuff. So there's been economies of scale and benefits that have been transferred over. So Amazon Prime, we've got Twitch Prime, or it's called Prime Gaming now, where it provides benefits to gamers. So in the same way that you get all the benefits that you get with a normal Prime subscription, this is the same thing. It just like if you link your accounts, you get benefits there. Recently, the commercial team, which I'm part of, has become part of Amazon advertising. So we've become far more formally part of the Amazon family. And what that does is offers advertisers even more of a full funnel solution, I guess, all the way from awareness, to which Twitch is probably kind of, that's our primary awareness and engagement, all the way down the funnel to kind of conversion and sales. So it makes a lot of sense from a business perspective, and we're only at the very start of that. So it's going to be really interesting to see how we work together with our Amazon counterparts and develop that proposition going forward.
Okay, I have a question for you from Adriana, and she says, as a gamer myself, but also a marketer, what do you think would be the best way for brands to approach scandals when it comes to gamers they support or promote? For example, the PewDiePie scandal, that was a few years ago, and she knows it was not on Twitch, but a lot of brands started to be more aware about what their gamers say and do online. Thank you.
Yeah, so when it comes to, I can only speak for Twitch, obviously, and I know how important that the economics that I kept mentioning is in relation to this. So essentially, Twitch is got a degree of self-policing. Yes, we've got the terms, our policies, but the way you earn money on Twitch, and these streamers are earning a living by being on Twitch and receiving kind of revenue share, is you have to show commitment to the platform. So by showing commitment to the platform, it means you have to stream for X amount of time before you then earn affiliate status and you earn partner status. Showing commitment to the platform means streaming for X period of time and actually keeping your community as a clean, welcoming, vibrant place to operate. If you don't keep it like that, you won't get the brand deals, you won't get the revenue share. So it's in the streamer's interest on the whole, and obviously some of them slip, they're human beings, to maintain and police their channels to make sure that A, they don't say anything, and B, their community don't do or say anything that that kind of goes against our terms of service. Because if they do, it's their livelihood, which it sounds harsh, but it is their livelihood that is at stake. But it's kind of a very good self-policing mechanism. Now, it doesn't rule it out completely, and we see that there are things that are said on stream in the moment, and but that combined with various machine learning tools, the moderators that I spoke about, do on the whole keep our streamers in check. But as with anything on the internet, there's always going to be those cases. So if I was a brand, I would say, if you're involved in that, anything like that on Twitch, is the community, they like the honesty, the transparency, the same thing that we're saying, like embrace the sellout, be yourself. Be honest about it. Say, if there's an accusation, say, yeah, we know and we support this person, but we take this very seriously, and we are withdrawing our support until a full investigation by law enforcement or whoever is taking place. Honesty and being upfront with this audience, I have found to be the best way of negotiating and navigating those kind of situations.
Yes, just like in real life when dealing with others.
Yeah.
Now, I know you did touch briefly on Burberry, but that particular case study I think is super interesting. So it was very recent, and they were streaming from London Fashion Week. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, so they actually didn't stream from London Fashion Week. They streamed on. So we were speaking to them before COVID even happened. But when COVID happened and we were all locked up and London Fashion Week wasn't happening, they've still got collections that they needed to put out into the public. And they're a very innovative brand, and they're very kind of forward thinking, and part of their their kind of DNA is about innovation. So Twitch was a really good platform for them. So we worked with them to produce a basically to release their, I think it was their spring summer collection live on Twitch, but it was very kind of, there's a lot of dance and theatre and all things that you wouldn't think a gaming audience or a Twitch audience would be into. And what they did was they utilized a thing called squad stream. So they utilize our technology of having multiple cameras and letting the viewer be able to choose like the view that they have and see this show unfold from multiple perspectives. The lead character's perspective, the models who have kind of made their way onto the catwalk, and it was all done in a forest, and it was all very kind of had a theme that went well over my head. But it was beautifully done, very, very kind of hypnotic in a sense. And they had ridiculous like 30, no, it was 50,000 unique views of people concurrent views of people watching it simultaneously. So they were really utilizing the fact that this audience are future consumers for them. So they knew that no one would within that audience may necessarily be able to afford kind of the clothing on there. But what brands like Burberry, what brands like Porsche, Louis Vuitton understand is that it's the future consumer, and the future consumer is on Twitch, and they love this kind of interactive route. And B, that you could have a different persona in the digital world that you have in the physical world. And so you're often seeing like these brands produce things that are purchasable in game or for a fraction of the price than the real life counterparts, because it then gives this future consumer a taste of that brand at an earlier age, and they're taking them through kind of the life cycle when they reach adulthood and they think, oh yeah, I'm a Burberry consumer. So it's very interesting stuff going on in that premium space at the moment when it comes to the digital world.
They're just known in general for being quite adept and very inventive when they use different platforms and reach out that way. We have a question for you from Paul, and he asks, how vital is it to get the tone of voice right first time? If a campaign clearly doesn't work or goes down badly, can a brand recover easily, or is it mostly always a permadeath situation?
I don't think so. Like there's been some shockers in the past, which I don't want to name and shame, but this audience, again, they're harsh at the time, but they're quite forgiving. They do understand the value of the brands in the space. So I have seen, you see, I can actually, like Burger King was an example. Burger King recently, they had this campaign where,
but I didn't know if you wanted to go there. But
I
explain that, because that's a really good cautionary tale.
Yeah, so Burger King had this campaign on Twitch, which they instigated themselves, whereby they would donate to streamers, drop into their streams and donate the value of their meal, their menu, with kind of a message that basically, because of the way that Twitch works with the kind of advocacy and endorsement that happens, if you donate to a channel, your name gets called out. It's part of the thrill of watching a streamer that they say, oh, thanks Adam for the donation, that's great. And what you were having is the streamers going, thanks Burger King for your £1.29 Whopper donation. So they were getting it's clever if you think of it that way, that they were getting these streamers, they were guerrilla marketing these streamers to basically do advertising for them. But they completely misunderstood what I was talking about, the value of the community and the economic system, is that the community felt exploited because they expect brands to be paying their way fairly to utilize these streamers to do the thing. They're doing it for free, and they earn their living by revenue share off the brand's activity, and they earn their revenue by kind of the activations that my team does. And by donating £1.29, that is not a fair value for the execution and their market rate for influencer activity. Right. So firstly, there was that. And then there was, it felt insulting to the community that a brand who understands the space came in and acted in that way and tried to exploit the community, the technology, the infrastructure, and the streamer all in one go. So it wasn't met very positively. Saying that, they then did a brilliant thing with, I think, Stevenage in FIFA, like immediately afterwards, which is a great example of this question, kind of showing this question where they were able to pull it back, and that other piece was long forgotten. So
Yeah. I
they
think,
are forgiving
and
if
maybe,
they do it in the right way.
yeah, probably rightly so, but I think the ad agency took the heat for that because it was so clearly award bait. If, it's
Yes,
very inside baseball, but it was getting a lot of negativity in the press, but they were doing it really to capture another lion,
100%. Yeah, yeah,
but on the other hand, and I think this is interesting also from a perspective of a lot of people on this webinar today, is Burberry, for example, got so much press in regular mainstream media because of their innovation of working with Twitch and dealing with their collections and having that as part of how they were celebrating spring summer. And you go, that's a really actual good reason to do it. So it's not just the people that are watching the stream, it's not just the Twitch community, it's all the regular people that are
yes.
going,
Well,
oh, isn't that cool, isn't that great?
this is a trend, and actually, the Porsche example that I showed was also very PR focused. So in terms of where the budgets come from, we'll say that there was far more PR budget kind of attributed to those two examples than Charmin, for example. So yeah, it's definitely becoming a bigger. It's becoming for a lot of brands, it's becoming the kind of the launch platform, a place where they launch live content and kind of create that buzz around it, because things can happen in real time in this. It's why esports is so successful on Twitch, is that they've realized that this like digital environment of almost this cheering in the chat, it creates, it's never going to be the same as going to an actual sport event, but it's as close as you're going to get in a digital environment. So when you're launching something, you can see that, and people could interact with the stream and find out information and really become part of it. It adds another layer to the experience when you're trying to launch something or get a message out.
Yes. I'm thinking now that we should have, instead of using Zoom, we should have done this session on
Yes.
which would have been good. I will share, and a lot of the audience I think had participated, but we did our last month's social hour. The topic was Clubhouse, and we did it on Clubhouse, which was great and had a lot of interest and enthusiasm. And I think we may try that again. So for the audience who's listening, please do check out the PRCA has opened a club on Clubhouse. And if you do have an iPhone, unfortunately, it's iPhone only still. Please do follow and join. But any other questions? I've got one more coming up here, who is anonymous, but I'll ask you the question anyway. As a public sector organization within a small PR communication team, it could be difficult to provide live content on a consistent basis. On average, how often or how so often should brands, gamers stream in order to keep their audiences actively engaged?
So it all depends on kind of what your objectives are. And we've seen, so for example, the Porsche set up that channel for just that purpose. They're going to be doing something else later in the year, but it's two things in the space of 2 years. So they're utilizing it very much as a broadcast platform, even though there's kind of a two-way communication going on, but very much as a one-off. The ability, it's using it as kind of a PR tool and a launch, an application device. Whereas certain brands who want to have regular kind of dialogue with the community will schedule more regular content. So it really depends on your objectives there, but there's no need to have regular scheduled content. If you want to build a community, then there is. So if you want to build a consistent community of people kind of returning and engaging with your content and providing value to them and providing messaging to them, then I would have a consistent schedule and start to build it that way. However, the likes of Porsche, Burberry have done it with one-offs. If the narrative is powerful enough, if the story you're telling, if it is interesting enough, you will gain an audience. They will be drawn into that one moment in time if that's what your objective is. If your objective is more long-term engagement, then you have to take it kind of a bit more day by day and start to build how you're utilizing it. But we all know production can be, like, even though this is a lot of self-shot stuff and kind of people webcams in their room, production can be expensive and it can be heavy, but it doesn't need to be kind of necessarily consistent. It all depends on what your strategy is.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much, Adam. It's been fantastic. I have learned a lot, and I hope our audience have also. Are you a big gamer yourself?
I'm a lapsed gamer, so I was a big gamer as a kid. I then had three children and gathered dirt on the various consoles that I've got. But since I work for Twitch, I tell my wife that it's part of the role that I
I know you
must.
have such a great
Yeah,
excuse. Like it's
yeah,
legitimately your job. So
yes.
that's how I feel about the internet in general. It is legitimately my job. So that's okay. All right. Well, thank you
Uh,
so much.
Thanks
And
for
thank
having
you,
me. It's been a
everybody.
pleasure.
And we'll see you next time.